How's it going, everybody? We are back with another reaction video. This one's going to be pretty sweet. It's the history of the first ever coffee shop. So it says the legend of Sarasani and Holy Hasenbos. So I don't know exactly who those people are, but I'm assuming they're the ones that owned this coffee shop. And I think we all know what coffee shops are in Amsterdam. So this is going to be pretty sweet. Shite Guides is the original channel. So make sure you go give them some love. And thanks for the original video. Will be in the description section down below. Before we get started, though, it does say Amsterdam is the best known for its coffee shops, but Utrecht takes the title as the city with the world's first ever coffee shop, Sarasani. Okay, so Sarasani is the name of the coffee shop. Got it. So we're going to check this out right here.
Amsterdam is known worldwide for its infamous coffee shops, those shady little rooms where one may partake safely in the consumption of locally sourced jazz cabbage without fear of being arrested and having your life destroyed by an antiquated justice system.
He's a disgrace.
You're a disgrace. He's a disgrace. You're a disgrace.
He's Irish.
The history of coffee shops is a story as hazy as my Monday morning memories, but most people will agree that the first coffee shop ever in Amsterdam was called Mellow Yellow.
Mellow Yellow,
Closed
huh?
down by the government. It was once located here, behind that scaffolding behind me, on Weiselgracht 33, where they first sold those dirty trees. But Mellow Yellow was set up in 1972, and this photo from a Dutch newspaper archive shows a couple of fellas looking at a couple of alligators in a coffee shop dating back to 1968, 4 years before Mellow Yellow even opened. So where the hell was the first coffee shop ever, I hear you ask?
Not Amsterdam, huh?
Or I presume you would ask. That's what I would ask. Well, to find that out, we're going to have to get out of Amsterdam entirely. Well, like, we don't have to. I could just tell you now, but that'd be shit.
That'd be shit.
When the Dutch originally gave coffee shops the go-ahead back in 1976, they didn't do it because they're some big band of bongo banging bong bandits, but because at the time it just seemed
Bongo banging bong bandits. That's funny, guys.
so blatantly obvious that weed would eventually be legalized across the continent that allowing the consumption of cannabis appeared to be the rational thing to do. The Dutch are rational people. The Dutch thought Europe would also be rational.
And that's why I want to move to the Netherlands. It makes sense. It's rational. It's efficient. Come on now.
The Dutch were very, very wrong. Because the Dutch never got around to actually legalizing cannabis, they instead ended up crafting an unusual compromise where they would just put their hands over their eyes wherever weed was being consumed. I'm high as fuck.
Just to tolerate it. What it said, right?
This legal trick is called gedogen, where the police can see the offense taking place but just choose not to intervene. Gedogen, when you realize that the system is broken and life's better when it's all out in the open. The Dutch cops know that the people have spoken, arresting young fellas for a smoke.
This is awesome.
Back in my country, the dope is verboten. A nice cup of tea and a smoke is enough to provoke some old cunt of a judge to treat you like a criminal instead of getting into the gedogen. Pretty fucking cool.
I didn't know this video was going to be this funny. This is awesome. Whoever put this in the Discord video suggestions area, thank you for that. That is awesome.
Which is why the Netherlands is in the unusual position where everybody knows it's illegal to sell cannabis, but everybody just pretends that it's not happening. But if you break any of the strictly enforced guidelines, then you're fucked. 3 strikes, you're out. Essentially, you break the rules 3 times and you are never getting the license again.
That's how it goes, huh?
After bumping it with
man is the weed man. He says alligator, you know, Rashid, Snoop Dogg, Sizzle, Jizzle, Rashid, the Godfather.
Snoop Dogg, Shizzle, Jizzle. M.O.B., of course.
We set up under Allah and under Lord.
Yeah, I hear that, man.
Many, man.
What's your name, brother?
My name is Rashid, man. Dr. Rashid, Mulay Rashid.
Rashid.
Tupac Amaru Mulay Rashid.
Tupac.
Amaru Mulay Rashid.
My man.
You know Tupac Amaru.
You know Tupac?
Rashid. Allahu Akbar.
You heard it here
Maybe
first,
the man
lads.
wants to give me a small favor.
The man will give him a small favor.
Ah,
The man will
thank
give him a
you,
small
thank you.
favor. No problem.
Hi guys.
Please stand by.
We apologise for the interruption to your service. Shy Guides will be right back.
This is a funny video.
As I was saying, before my business partner interrupted me, they don't just hand out licenses to every fucking stoner with a woolly jumper and dreams of selling 1 million grams of smoke to teenage French boys.
I'm sure it's hard to get, for sure.
In the early 90s, there were 40 coffee shops in Utrecht. And over time, with the laws changing, this slowly got whittled down to 11. 10 of which are on land, and 1 which is on water. Feast your lazy bloodshot eyes on Coffee Shop the Boat. It's a coffee shop
On a boat.
on a boat.
Nice.
And I'm fucking in it now, man.
This dude.
Boats. Do you like boats? Cause I like boats. So
This is funny.
I love boats. I like to go. I know a boat where you can do both.
Coffee Shop the Boat. It's a
I'm gonna skip past the songs so we can get to the information here.
coffee shop on a
On a boat.
boat. Well, bon appetit. Bellissima.
I don't know what he said.
See that editing? Now the camera has me over here. The boat itself dates back to 1905, but in 1986 it got turned into like a youth hostel. They started banging out hash to the guests, and eventually the city granted it a coffee shop license. It may not be the first coffee
Nice.
shop ever, and it's not the reason we're here, but I'm just after picking up a gram of sour power. I'm feeling nice. This is not the first coffee shop ever, but it is the first coffee shop ever on water. So to actually find the first
On
coffee
water.
shop ever, we're going to have to walk back into the city centre. So why not watch this poorly edited montage of the 60s while I walk there?
This dude's
They
funny.
dress in bizarre and colorful ways. They wear their hair long. Their very name suggests that they are hip, on to something good.
While the commune listens to a local group, some craftsman rolls a king-size joint for the common good.
In 1968,
For the common good.
world was in turmoil. The old orders were collapsing and new youth movements were in search of new answers and new messiahs. And in Utrecht, that spot was filled by the orphaned son of a Rotterdam sex worker.
So
Hasenbos-
Utrecht. I have a map back here, actually. Okay, it's over there in between Amsterdam and Rotterdam, so, kind of.
Boss was just 22 when he went
Closer to
from
Amsterdam.
dealing a little hash in a little music club to buying the place outright and turning it into a safe space where people could watch a band, have a drink, and get high as fuck. Word of this madhouse spread throughout the country, and an entire generation were introduced to the amazing ways of the haze. And the fabled place where they came to blaze went by the name of Sarasani.
Back in the 60s, the lower canals would have been full of bars, cafes, maybe an old fucking jazz band playing a cheeky riff or two. All in all, pretty nice neighborhood. But the neighbors were definitely not ready for the day that Holly Hasenbos moved in. The circus was coming to town and every freak in Utrecht was invited. And right here is where they came. Number
Let's check it out.
327 on the Oudegracht, the site of the world's
327.
first ever coffee shop.
Interesting.
Perfect spot for an underground business. It's not actually here, it's underground, literally underground. So we're going to go down and have a peep.
Underground, huh? I wonder how. Where's he going? He's going across the street to get underground? Interesting. What is
This
this?
was hallowed ground for the lovers of freedom and happiness. and a thorn in the side for the tyrannical animals who want to lock up anybody who deviates from the norm. And believe me, this place deviated from the norm.
I'm
Looks a
sure.
little bit more normal now though. Gentlemen, having a lovely day. I'm here trying to visit the site of the world's first ever coffee shop. Obviously no longer here, no? More peaceful scenes here today. We got a cup of tea and a cat. Happy days, man. So this would have been the spot. This was where Sarasani was. You just had this door behind us here. There was a lot of trouble with the neighbors upstairs. People would be calling to 327 thinking they were at the coffee shop. So there was always going to be tensions with the neighbors. And yeah, this was the spot along the wharf here.
Very
The
interesting.
neighbors didn't really understand what the fuck was going on.
So it's 327. So is that the same address that's used for the top and bottom, or it's not separate? Because that's very confusing.
Like a coffee shop, the concept had never existed before.
Remember that picture of the alligators?
Right.
Well, they were fucking security alligators. Holly Hasenbos, being the absolute mad bastard that he was, kept his stash of hash in the middle of a concrete basin, protected by an assortment of exotic lizards.
Jeez.
No wonder the poor neighbors upstairs were terrified about what was unfolding beneath their feet. Jesus.
If you can imagine, there would just be lines of hippies and freaky people lining up here trying to get in. The door would always be locked, so you'd have to knock. And if Holly knew you weren't a cop, if you looked freaky and smelly enough, you were going to get in. In 1971, 3 pythons escaped from the coffee shop.
Jeez.
2 were found swimming in the canal. And a month or 2 later, one of the neighbours sat down to take a shite on a cold winter's morning. And out pops python number fucking 3.
Dang.
Jesus. If you could imagine.
How many did it have babies in the meantime? That'd be crazy.
Imagine crowds of spaced out lulas and lunatics knocking on the door upstairs. I think the actual house upstairs got attacked a few times. Drug dealers putting in the windows and just lunatics who didn't actually know where the coffee shop was. So this was really a thorn in the side of the decent, good living people of the Utrecht.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, especially at the time, for sure. Skip some of this music here so we can get to the meat and potatoes. Funny though. Oh, yeah.
68, the post-war nations and new generations of hairy barbarians at the gates, and the situation was spicy. The new type of life was in different pan and a split.
All right, here.
Look,
Yeah, shop in the Utrecht.
do you get
Here we
my
go.
point,
Here we
bro?
go.
Coming here to have a look.
Yeah, it's a little bit less than it used to be because when I just lived here, like once every day, somebody would stop by.
Really, yeah?
So he said some of you would stop by. He's like, you're not the only one, guy.
Again? Once every less than it used to be because when I just lived here, like once every day, somebody would stop by.
Really, yeah?
Is Sarasani open again?
Wow. Wow, man, I can't believe I actually got to come in.
Wow, that looks cool.
Wow, wow. And do you know where
Under the road up top.
It's like the stone basin with the alligators and all this.
Over there.
It's right there. That is amazing. I can't believe I'm actually
Very cool.
unusual that is. Oh, come on inside. And this was where the bands, I guess, were at the back.
Yeah. The floor was where they invited like Golden Earring and they were really famous
Jeez.
in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Has started over here, so they.
That's wild, man. That is absolutely bananas.
And he lives there.
Normal bathroom. And here we have some. We're behind the garden. There's a garden. When
Very echoey there, that
Sarasani
sounds.
was still here, they had like 100 people
Yeah.
inside, so they needed to have an escape route. So it was
Yeah.
still an escape route here.
Unbelievable. It's so crazy.
Very cool.
Holly Hasenbos.
This music's sort of annoying in a way. It's funny, but just trying to see the video here.
The freaky times kept to remove and Holly
Sarasani.
Just trying to get the information here.
He was
Here we go.
raided and Holly was arrested no less than 7 times, possibly a lot more. And every time he got arrested, he would get stuck right in here, in the Politiebureau on Paardenveld.
Not even very far away, huh? So that's how you sell politie. Okay. Trying to learn Dutch, so politie. See if that's...
Would get stuck right in here, in the Politiebureau on Paardenveld.
Politie, okay.
After his first arrest, Holly was undeterred, and instead he actually redoubled his efforts, and he changed from just a businessman into more of like a political activist. The arrests became more common, and every time he ended up in here, he'd have to leave a little sign on the door of Sarasani saying, "Closed while I'm on vacation, you know where." He described the raids as like essentially an anti-terror brigade bursting through, lads with double-barrel shotguns, bulletproof vests, the whole fucking shebang. And when they would raid the shop, everybody would have to lie on the ground face first while they were searched. The opposite of chill.
Yeah, but like, they didn't know. I mean, that was... They had 100 people in that thing with bands and like they were carrying on too much. Nobody's seen that before.
By this stage, Holly was an outlaw with a rock and roll lifestyle, a fan of fast cars and faster women. He started getting into all the rock star shit, started wearing leather pants, gold chains, all the good stuff, but he also, as time went on, became very political and started getting involved in a lot of protests. One, which was in the city hall here, the lad actually, he burst in and occupied the mayor's office trying to call for the legalization of soft drugs.
Jeez.
Absolute fucking lunatic.
But it might have helped. Maybe. I mean, they have laid-back attitude now, more so than it sounds like back then for sure.
As the years rolled by, the heat got turned up on our old buddy Holly. Not only was he arrested all the time, but he actually had to spend 1.5 years as guests of the prison guards at Wolvenplein Penitentiary. This grim-looking building behind the wall here. You can imprison a man, but you can't imprison his spirit. And as soon as he was released, Holly was back.
Video's getting glitchy here.
In the mix, banging out Moroccan hash, Thai weed, and good vibes. As far as Holly was concerned, Sarasani and the very idea of the coffee shop was here to stay.
I bet. All trick, huh?
The 60s were long dead. The 70s had fizzled out, and now the 80s was announcing its crunchy arrival on the streets with the free flow of hard drugs such as cocaine and heroin. All this time at the forefront of the new movement had taken its toll on Holly.
He said his camera is shit about 18 times so far in this video. That's funny.
He wasn't only these days just, you know, rubbing shoulders with peace-loving hash smokers and regular police, but he was finding himself more and more at the center of controversy. And slowly but surely he started descending into paranoid delusions, thinking that his house was being bugged, thinking the cops were coming for him, and thinking other drug dealers were about to attack him. This was no longer the rock and roll lifestyle of the 60s. On the night of July 17th, 1984, Holly was driving his famous red MG down this quiet little street here called Elsastraat in a couple miles south of Utrecht city centre when the cops pulled him over with the excuse of a dodgy backlight. He was used to being harassed by the police on the regular, but this time Holly had a trunk full of hash and a loaded Magnum hanging on his hip. According to the police reports, Holly got blocked in by the cops and he tried to flee in his car, and when he couldn't get out, he panicked and drew his gun and shot at the cops through the door of his car. The police returned fire and 5 more gunshots rang out in this sleepy neighbourhood, breaking the silence. His famous bright red MG was stained a darker, sadder shade of crimson. And at 36 years old, Holly Hasenbos exited the stage the same way he'd entered it, waking up the whole fucking neighborhood. Holly Hasenbos, Sarasani, fight against prohibition. Rival in 1960, outpost of freedom. After Holly's death, Sarasani kept banging out the music of peace, love and liberty. But this outpost of freedom came to a sad end when the law finally caught up with it. Since its arrival in 1968, Sarasani had been at the forefront of the fight against prohibition, and it actually helped lead to the kind of policy of tolerance that the Netherlands was eventually to become famous for.
That's what I said. Then it probably helped then. You know what I mean? Because they're clearly more tolerant now.
But these laws were also going to lead to Sarasani's downfall. In 2007, the new owners of Sarasani were caught selling 10 fucking kilograms to a German. And when the cops raided the houses related to Sarasani, they found another 40 kilograms. Sarasani lost their license. So the city had finally done it. They defeated the forces of acceptance and closed down what should have been a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the world grew a little greyer.
Yeah, dang.
You can kill the man, but not the ideal.
It was there for a while, though, then. I didn't even, I mean, it was there for till 2000 and whatever he said. So, yeah, 7, I think.
And one day, when the annals of freedom are finally written and adults are treated like adults, there will surely be a chapter dedicated to this little seller called Sarasani. So wherever you are, sit back and light one up for the pioneer, the legend, Holly Hasenbos.
There we go, guys. That was the legend of Sarasani and Holly Hasenbos. So that was pretty interesting. The original channel is Site Guides. Interesting. I'm going to subscribe. You guys should as well. Links to the original video will be in the description section down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. So you guys have a super fun, awesome day. Take care.